There's a moment happening in organizations right now that doesn't get talked about enough. People are being pulled into roles they didn't ask for, didn't plan for, and sometimes don't even want. And it's easy to assume that means something went wrong, that maybe you missed something or didn't perform the way you should have. But what's actually happening is something much bigger. The nature of work is changing. With AI, automation, and constant disruption, companies aren't just filling roles anymore, they're redefining them in real time. And the people who are being trusted with those roles are often the ones who can navigate uncertainty, not just execute a job description. That's what makes this story from Sandy Hofmann so powerful. She shares a moment when she was asked to step into a role she didn't want, one that felt completely misaligned with where she thought she was going with her career. And what happened next is something I think a lot of people are experiencing right now. Because sometimes the role you resist the most is the one that stretches you into who you're meant to become.
Well, I can start there by saying being a chief people officer was the very last job I ever would have wanted. And I have no hesitation to relay that when my CEO at the time said, gee, I want you to move back to Atlanta. I was living in Boston at the time. And he said, I'd like for you to be my chief people officer. And I burst into tears and said, what did I do wrong? I have done a stellar job for you. That I have absolutely no desire to be HR police. Why are you doing this to me? And he said, because the most important asset we have is our people, and I trust you with them. Now, mind you, the position that he had just spoken to me about was to be the Chief Information Officer, CIO, which was an aspirational position for me and a likely one in the progression of my career. And that's what I was excited about. So to have this other thing tossed in was just excruciatingly painful. I really thought I'd screwed up bad. And after he spent a considerable amount of time talking to me, particularly you have the most important assets in our company, the people and the technology that we use. We were a software development company. So having responsibility for all of the systems was clearly important. But I really didn't want the people too. Just give me the data and the systems. I'm good with that. So this was a unexpected burden in my life, and it turned out to be probably the best job that I've ever had. And I think it's because both of those things were changing so dramatically. Technology, and again, remember, I'd have to look back to see the date for that, but technology was insane. Software was revolutionizing businesses everywhere. Everyone had a laptop on their desk at that point. And I was, having been a former teacher, I understood the people aspect of it. I don't mean to say I didn't care for people, but I didn't care for people. I really just wanted to deal with things that were predictable and that I could have some sway over. But that position and that job forced me to look at how companies integrate and process their business.
Sandy's story is one of many stories I share and Learn to Love the Roller Coaster, because I think we all have moments like this, where something unexpected changes our path and only later do we understand why it mattered. That's really what the book is all about, learning how to move through those moments with a little more clarity and a little more trust. You could pick it up on Amazon.com.